Today we're taking a look at an iconic and historic disc that is simultaneously very confusing, and that is the Innova Eagle, which, if you didn't know, is not one mold, but two. And more specifically, we're talking about the Eagle L today, the much rarer of the two Eagles when compared to the Eagle X. So today we're going to be talking about how the Eagle L flies and whether or not it's the right fairway driver for your bag. So let's jump into it. A brief Innova Eagle lesson for the unacquainted. 99% of the new Eagles that you run across are most likely the Eagle X. If you just get a new stock Eagle or a Greg Barsby Tour Series Eagle, you're going to get the Eagle X, which has the number 74-13. In contrast, Innova has not done many runs of the Eagle L in recent years. This is the Sofia Donnecke Tour Series one that came out just a few months ago. Has the number 74-12. So as you can tell, marketed as being a little bit less overstable than the Eagle X counterpart. First hole, 320 feet. We got this tree in the middle of the fairway about 300 feet out that we want to avoid. So if we just aim at the tree, give it a little bit of height, should fade out towards the basket on the left. Starting with the stock Champion Eagle X. There we go, getting some fade. All right, we went on the long side of it, which is fine. That'll set us up easy peasy par versus Eagle L. Yeah, very similar flight, but it's holding pretty straight, and that one's gonna go deep. And part of the reason why I say the Eagle's a confusing disc is because Innova doesn't really put a whole lot of effort into marketing the differences between the Eagle X and the Eagle L, as well as just which one you're getting. Because all the stock runs of Eagles that you find in the wild, they just say Eagle on them. They don't actually specify X versus L. Despite the fact that these are two pretty distinct molds that just kind of happen to have the same name. Be so for real, Innova. What are we doing here with the Eagle? The rim on the Eagle X is very concave, so the angle between the edge of the wing and the bottom of the rim very heavily sloped. The Eagle L, on the other hand, is very different, where it's a very flat angle between the edge of the wing and the bottom of the rim. Combine that with the fact that my Sofia Tour Series Eagle L is very flat versus my Champion Eagle X is a lot domier and has a much higher shoulder. The hand feel between these two discs is extremely different. 293-foot par 3 uphill, basket is underneath a low ceiling. Again, let's start off with Champion Eagle X. See, look at that fade. Like, we are kind of throwing uphill here, so the fade is going to be a little bit exaggerated versus a flatter to downhill shot. But I've always felt like the Eagle X, just like the stock Eagle, is way more overstable than people give it credit for. I think part of that is because we see guys like Calvin Heimberg who throw the Eagle a ton and make it look very straight, much straighter than your average player is going to be throwing it. I've always felt like just the stock Champion Eagle is kind of just like a baby Firebird, a bit on the lower glide side for that 7-speed fairway driver slot, and has that pretty aggressive fade at the end. In contrast, Eagle L. Look at that, we got a little bit of turn coming on back. Ooh, that's gonna set us up pretty good. Again, low ceiling, hard to park this basket, but we got a putt. And both of our Eagles kind of landed like edge of circle, obstructed here, but the Eagle X faded off to the left and is much more heavily obstructed. Oh, get in there? No, we did not get in there. Which is why there's probably a lot of people out there, myself included, who have purchased the Eagle X expecting it to be a straight flying fairway driver and have been very disappointed about the aggressive, overstable fade at the end of the flight. Despite the fact that the flight numbers, they reflect an overstable flight. The Eagle L, I think, is a much better choice if you're going into the Eagle expecting that straight flight without beating it in for 6 months in advance, which is why I'm super surprised that we don't see just stock runs of the Eagle L from Innova. Like, why aren't we getting Eagle X and Eagle L Champion stock run discs or Star stock run discs? 332-foot par 3 downhill. It is a corridor. There are trees right and left we have to avoid. Kind of bottlenecks about 220-ish feet off the tee here, where you really need to be on the right side of the fairway. We're gonna start again with Eagle X. There we go, looking good. Oh, we hit just the very edge of the tree, but you saw it was starting to fade when it hit that tree. I really need to put that a bit lower to get the straighter flight for longer before we broke to the left. Wasn't gonna end up near the basket anyways, so I think we're gonna have better luck with the Sofia Eagle L. A little bit of Anheuser there, and just flexing beautifully. Holds the Anheuser so well. We hit the tree there, but that's gonna set us up great. Now, much like Innova, I've also been keeping a tiny secret here, and that's the fact that even though Innova hasn't been directly selling stock runs of the Eagle L, it has been possible to get a clone of the Eagle L mold as the Infinite Discs Exodus. You may know that Innova produces Infinite Discs. Get in there. Oh, there we go. And because of that, they basically just gave Infinite the Eagle L mold, marketed it as a different disc in the Exodus. Bada bing, bada boom. Eagle L mold cloned, available in a few different plastics. So that is pretty cool. And the Exodus is actually Infinite Disc's first ever disc. So it's been around for a long time, but it's not really just like marketed as the Eagle L. Like the only reason why we even know that they are the same disc is because Innova actually told us a couple years back. But otherwise, they're not super transparent about that fact. And on the flip side, for the Eagle X, there's actually another mold that is the Eagle X, but slightly tweaked, and that is the Millennium Vela. Millennium also made by Innova, so it's the same type of situation as the Infinite Disc Exodus, but the Vela is just a flattened Eagle X. So I'd actually probably prefer that over this Eagle X. The fact that this one is really domey, mixed with kind of the more concave rim, it actually feels super deep compared to the Eagle L, which I don't really love. So I'd probably like the Vela more. But all this is to say that it gets confusing quick as far as what eagle to pick, what disc is actually an eagle and isn't. A lot of information out there that you pretty much wouldn't know unless like you researched it in depth yourself. But one thing I do know for sure, I'm really liking the Sofia Eagle L Flight a ton. Now this hole is a 300-foot uphill par 3 with a ton of trees, super tight corridor. Even if you get out this corridor that's about 100 feet off the tee, you have another tree just in the middle of the fairway to contend with. And then you got to get left at the end. Really hard to park this hole. You want something that's going to go straight and have that fade at the end. So I think the Eagle L specifically will be a great choice here. But again, we're going to start with the Eagle X. I love it. Get around there. Yeah. And that fade's going to help us out. Big skip. That's a great shot. Love it. I was worried the Eagle X would be too overstable, but because we really have to get to the left at the end, get that skip, Eagle X worked out pretty well. Now, Sofia, Eagle L. Nice, but it's holding really straight for way too long. Nice flight, but because we needed that overstable finish, didn't really perform on this hole as well as the Eagle X. And one thing that I've not talked about yet is the plastic. So for the Eagle X, it's stock champion. You know what you're getting, it's stiff, tends to be pretty overstable. Oh, nice, we canned it. The Sofia Eagle L, on the other hand, it's in the Proto Color Glow Champion plastic, which I really feel like is one of Innova's best plastics to date. It is stiff, but at the same time has that gumminess, more so than the typical Champion plastic. And the glow is so freaking good. Immense glow-in-the-dark capabilities, which if you know the history of Innova plastics, they've not been very good at glow-in-the-dark plastics. Like, I've honestly felt like Innova's old glow stuff is kind of a joke. Like, a lot of times they'll sell glow discs that literally don't glow at all. Whereas I feel like with these new Proto Color Glow discs, they've really caught up to the rest of the market. Manufacturers like MVP and Casaplast, which have had really good glow for a few years now, the Proto Color Glow stuff, so freaking good at glowing. Let me know down below in the comments if you carry a slower speed fairway driver like these 7-speeds that are a little bit on the overstable side. T-Bird's also really similar to the Eagle FD1 as well. I'd actually say the FD1 comparison is really applicable to the Eagle L, Eagle X, where the Eagle L is more like just the straight FD. It even has really similar hand feel actually, especially because of that straight angled rim that I talked about earlier. The FD has that same style of rim. Eagle L probably a little bit more overstable than your average FD, but the Eagle X super similar to the FD1. 260-foot par 3, bends off to the left. It does slope down towards the basket, so it's really easy to get a big skip, especially with a disc like the Eagle X. We don't really want the skip because it's going to put us pretty far from the basket. So we're going to try to keep these a little bit flatter out of the hand, where if we land on too much highs, we're going to get that huge skip. So let's see what we can do. Start with the Eagle X. Okay, that could be good. Probably going to get a skip here, but that could be okay. Yeah, I think that's solid. Sofia, Eagle L. Ooh, I like that. It's going pretty straight though, might be long. We hit a tree, but I think we're gonna be edge of circle. We landed about edge of circle with both Eagles. The Eagle X went long, circle's edge. Eagle L, we hit this tree, so we are short, circle's edge. But we got a nice little downhill putt here, so should be able to get a bird. Oh, his bags were packed. He was ready to go home. 411-foot par 3 fairway just kind of subtly meanders to the right before having a really aggressive dog leg about 370-ish foot out to the right. Very hard to birdie, pretty much impossible to birdie going with the backhand. You really need like the power forehand, but we're just gonna start with the Eagle X on the backhand, see how far we can get down there. Probably gonna have to put this out on Anheuser Flex to really maximize the distance because of the overstability. That's gonna be pretty solid. Kept it nice and low, which really helped us stay out of those trees on the left, which is like a death sentence. It's where I end up way too often. Now let's go, Sofia, Eagle L. Didn't get a lot on it, but you can see it holds the line so well. Really happy with how this Eagle X flexed out. And it almost got us to where this dog legs, like I said, about 370, 380 foot from the tee pad, aggressively to the right to really open up a space for the basket. So we're still probably gonna have to go with a little sneaky roller here. I think that'll be pretty solid. That will give us a putt for the par at least. There we go, redemption putt. So overall, we're really happy with how the Sofia Eagle L's fly. It's a fantastic balance of neutral flight plus reliable hookup at the end. The Eagle is one of those discs that I feel like in theory, I end up liking a lot more than in practice. Right now, I bag the Discraft Sagara in this spot, which I feel like does have a little bit more glide, and I'm able to push at a little bit further distances. The Eagle does have a 4 glide, and usually I find the difference between 4 and 5 glide kind of arbitrary on a lot of discs, but for the Eagle, I really do feel like that 4 glide characterizes the fact that these don't go quite as far as a lot of other straight 7 speeds on the market. Doesn't mean the Eagle's worse, it's personal preference. Sometimes having lower glide helps to maximize your accuracy while maybe trading off a little bit of distance. Depends on what you're looking for versus just one is strictly better than the other. So anyways, guys, if you got any questions about the Eagle, drop those down below in the comments. Again, let me know what you're using in this type of slot for that slightly overstable fairway driver in your bag. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you could consider liking and subscribing. That'd be awesome. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers, which is incredible. Thanks so much, guys. You can be part of the Flying Fajita family by subscribing down below. You can also follow me on UDisc community at Flying Fajita or Instagram at Flying Fajita Disc Golf. As always, guys, I love you. Take care. I'll see you next time.